Hey everybody, happy Friday. What a difference. What a difference 5 days makes. Quite remarkable. We're going to go through the whole Bitcoin news breakdown, talk about Tether and our HODL bag and how Bitcoin is just warming up, options action, desperation by governments around the world. What average home is now worth in Bitcoin. We'll look at the massive ETF flows and a few very unique observations and where we are with the top and bottom indicator, how far we are through this bull run. Lots of good stuff coming. Thank you all for coming. And shout out to KPM. Shout out to Patreon and Brad Rethman, new Patreon member. Love it. Thank you for being here. And Anglo Blackson, thank you also for being here, and Mr. Hammer and the mods in the chat. Let's just expand our minds and jump through all the news. Interesting stuff happened yesterday, the last 24 hours since I did this. 1 billion in USDT was just minted on Tether, and we know every time Tether mints, the price goes up. It's just how it works. And this is how the Fed is monetizing the debt. The Fed, the US Fed, needs Tether because they buy a truckload of U.S. treasuries. So, again, supporting the dollar, which is a good thing. And speaking of Tether as well, 1 year ago from Rizzo, Tether announced its plan to invest its profits into Bitcoin. Remember, they have $112 billion, $113 billion. They invest that in U.S. treasuries. And they get 4.5%, 5%, depending on the actual bond that they buy. And that money goes straight to buying Bitcoin. And so far, in 1 year, they now hold 75,354 Bitcoin, worth over 5 billion, which is about 5% of 100 billion. Makes complete sense. And they are buying $600 million of Bitcoin a quarter. What a genius business model. And it's got the attention of Wall Street as well. It's like, whoa, let's do this ourselves. Everybody wants to create their own stablecoin now. Now, back to 13Fs. I did say, after seeing the type of players that were jumping in and how much they were allocating to Bitcoin, this was going to turn some heads. And we haven't even seen Q2 data, but Q2 will be a bit muted because we're halfway through it already. But I guarantee you the last half of this quarter, there will be big allocations made. This will cause a snowball effect. So first of all, the hedge funds pile into IBIT. Then come the mutual funds, then the sovereign wealth funds, and then the pension funds. Thank you, Solar Bitcoin Coffee. We already have a couple of them putting their toe in the water. Mr. 100 is probably a sovereign wealth fund. We have pensions jumping in there. The state of Wisconsin, shout out to state of Wisconsin, and of course Oklahoma as well. Good things are coming from weird places. Anyway, let's talk about this as well. Bitcoin bulls are just warming up as spot ETF inflows exceed $1.3 billion in 2 weeks. Everybody, literally, just late last week, everybody thought the world was ending. That was it. Literally, people throwing in the towel. That's it. Bull market over. Dead. Let's pack our bags and go home. Yeah, that didn't happen at all. And again, I always say risk happens fast. You just can't take your eye off the ball. You can't step away. You can't not be in the market when things happen fast. B-Man, thank you for coming as well. And what's crazy too, just in literally a few days, the outflows, the dip triggered by the outflows for April have been erased already. May has already offset April, and April was the nastiest month we had. Again, a red month too. Bitcoin fell 14%. People lost their minds, and that's after tripling in a couple of months. Anyhow, that's how humans are. Thank you, Linda, for coming. Let's talk about this. I did say this on Monday morning. My theory this week, 13Fs will get a lot of attention, will trigger institutional FOMO. We're seeing that big time. GBTC bleed will continue slow. It's actually been positive. Another surprise. We'll have a very positive ETF week. Yes, we have. And most non-ETF cohorts will go back to stacking. Yes, we have. All of this stuff has come true. And I love the thing about Twitter is once you write a tweet, it's locked forever. You can't actually change it. So that all happened. Also, really big news as well. The Holy Trinity is back on the table. This is from Hey Apollo. And this is from Michael Saylor. He spoke about the holy trinity of how Bitcoin gets to $5 million is one. you need a spot Bitcoin ETF. Check. Number 2, you need fair value accounting rules from the Financial Accounting Standards Board. Check. I think they're going into effect later this year. Number 3, banks custody and lend against Bitcoin as collateral. This legal, whatever it is, SAB 60, I can't remember the exact number of what this piece of legislation was. Stunning event happened yesterday. It was overturned. All right? Overturned. Only 38 senators said no to it. Now we have an interesting predicament. The Holy Trinity is back on the table. Having Bitcoin and be able to borrow against it is going to be huge for the space, and also allowing banks to custody it. And then, borrow against your Bitcoin. Get a down payment on a house, whatever. Anyway, very, very important. Now, these two are quite shocked. They have been scheming against Bitcoin and crypto for years now. And they're like, huh? What happened? And also, so many blacklegs within the Democratic Party turning against being anti-crypto, which is also very important. You cannot do this. And I did say crypto will be a massive political issue going forward all over the world. And it's happening. Now, this is from Tom Emmer. Sorry to talk about this, but this is so important to understand the nature, because crypto and macro and governments, they're all integrally connected. Okay, this is from Tom Emmer. Crypto is in the middle of a policy tug of war between the administrative state and the American people. Congress just passed the SAB 121. That's the number I was trying to remember. 121. Repeal on the bipartisan basis. If Biden vetoes this, that is the President of the United States, it proves he wants to kill opportunities for Americans at the expense of Americans. Part of the whole dollar hegemony and everything else in there. So Biden is now boxed in. Go against the will of the people and the senators, or fold. It'll be very interesting to watch. And regarding that intricate nature of money and governments and organizations, breaking news. The IMF is working on a global poop coin for total control and surveillance. George Orwell's book, 1984, is a fairy tale compared to what's coming. Save yourself and stack Bitcoin for freedom and independence. Decentralization matters more than ever. I couldn't have said that better myself, Carl. Brilliant. This is more kind of governments want to control the money. If you control the money, you control the people. And I think as well, Australia just made law it's possible to get a digital ID, so they can also find ways to control all the people in the country. Weird stuff is happening in Australia. Sorry for all our Australian friends too. But it's not just the IMF who want to control the money. Haha. These two, Russia and Iran, are working together to create a single currency for BRICS. Again, get away from that dollar hegemony. At the end of the day, all fiat is trash. It's infinitely printed. China is printing like this, going out of fashion right now. And they're going to be bailing out real estate market to the tune of, I think, $60 billion, which will also float all boats. But again, do not be holding that melting ice cube. Not only will it make your hands cold, but it'll shrivel away and you will lose everything. Now, back to George Orwell. He just read a new book called 2024. And he is in shock. He is in shock with what's going on in the world. So again, be aware, all right? The people in control are not on your side. They say they are. They are not. They are on the side of filling their bags with brown envelopes. Very important. Okay, let's talk about the Bitcoin Only playlist. It'll be here afterwards. And let's get into the charts. Some very interesting findings today in the charts. First of all, our top and bottom indicator tells us we are actually in the middle of the road. We just had that big spike up to $67,000. Bitcoin was at $60,000 on Monday. Now it's $67,000, gone up $7,000 in 5 days. Not bad. But check out the top and bottom indicator. It is going down. And it shows you some interesting things are happening. And we are also middle of the road, like middle of the bull. We are nowhere near orange, dark orange, and red. Red, danger zone. Interesting things are happening. Also, all right, we know Grayscale has flushed over half of their bag. And we know where half of their bag went now. It went into all of these 13F filings. All these institutions stacked it hard. I think of the 12 billion, 11 came from all those 13F filings. Super interesting. But also, we have miners. Very important. Also from the top and bottom indicator. A Zerolfer, thank you so much for coming. When you look here, Bitcoin miner reserves are at all-time lows. Normally, the miners try to stack as much as they can during the bull market because they know Bitcoin price will appreciate. But they've been forced to sell to buy state-of-the-art rigs and just be in a position to be somewhat effective and efficient so they don't shrivel up and die, which maybe some 25% to 50% of them may actually have to do that. Again, if you do not have the latest rigs, and if you do not have cheap electricity, and if you have zero overhead, or if you have heavy overhead, you are in trouble. But again, this is interesting. So do not expect massive dumpage to come from the miners. Now, there are miners like Marathon that have about 15,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, they'll probably use that to acquire miners that are in distress to increase their hash as they go forward. Anyway, that's enough of miners. And I did promise a miner video coming. It takes a long time to pull the data together, so bear with me. That'll be out next week. Now, cycles compared. This it's from Thomas. And people are scared. Bitcoin had topped. The bear market was in. Bull market was over. An ARK ETF by $130 million of Bitcoin in one day. We have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it was so important to analyze all those 13F filings. When we look at the previous cycles, 2016, 2020, to compared to where we are today, 2024, yes, we had that dip. We went from 73 down to 60 and made a nice little floor. And now we are off to the races again. Target for this, based on Thomas's model, is about $160,000 to $170,000. Very feasible, and I found that confluent with some of the data that I see too. But again, if we get above 120, that'll be like a miracle. Everything after that is gravy, so just be careful, everybody. Now, let's look at the big bets. This is the option action. I always keep an eye on this and always watch what the clever money is doing. This is the set of option bets. First of all, the put call ratio is 0.39, which means heavy, heavy, heavy green, which is call buying. Very few people are bearish. I don't know what people are doing with their $10,000 puts for September 2024. Anywho, we don't worry about that. When you calculate the expected value of the call option bets right now for September 2024, the price is about $106,000. So a lot of options bettors believe we will be north of $100,000 by September, which is not too far away. June, July, August, boom, September. 4 months, we are there. So it'll be interesting. But remember also, historically, September is the weakest month for Bitcoin. However, if they do get that perpetual bid, that might be off the table too. We shall see. Now, speaking of bull market and where we are, Bitcoin is in the middle of the bull market cycle. This is from Crypto Quant. And if the market cap is growing faster than its realized cap, this is a trend that typically lasts about 24 months, 2 years. And you can see very clearly we are halfway through the bull market. I called the bull back in November, December 2022. That was the beginning. That was the clear bottom at 15.5. After that, that's basically when it begins. And that is now a year and a half in. But per Crypto Quant, we are a year in. This formula here lasts for 24 months, which means we have 1 year to go, which means theoretically, if this pattern continues from previous cycles, the bull market could end as early as April, May, June 2025, giving us a year left after what was a pretty bonkers year as well. And again, I know people hate the ETFs and it's not pure and it's Wall Street manipulation and market makers and all that crazy stuff. But remember, the ETFs are the ones that brought a ton of money in, $12 billion in a very short window of time. And that is through a nasty dumping storm by Grayscale, which again, hopefully now is flushed. So let's go. Also, the inflows are back. The Bitcoin ETFs have put together a solid 2 weeks of $1.3 billion of inflows, which completely offset the negative April. And we are back at that high water mark of 12.3 billion. I'll show you that in a minute. And the key number, again, is what will happen next. Will this continue? Will it be the perp bid? Will it be my theory of the 13 Fs have gotten a lot of attention from money managers? And if you are not in, you cannot play. And again, the diversity of the people that invested and the average for the top three, 5.6% allocation to Bitcoin, that will raise eyebrows, ladies and gentlemen. So, and in fun news too, how much does it cost to buy an average house in the United States today? 6.6 Bitcoin. It was 664 Bitcoin in 2016. And by the way, the price of a house has also gone up a lot since then. 2016, a house is 288K. Now it's 435K. And even at that is 100x less. It's 1% of the amount of Bitcoin you need to buy a house. This is a very good way for people that don't understand inflation and debasement and the power of Bitcoin. This resonates with those folks. They get this. I don't know why, but it's special. And speaking of other assets that are supposed to hedge against debasement, this is the shiny rock story, gold versus the Bitcoin ETFs in the first quarter. Gold pulled in 95 million. ETFs pulled in nearly $1 billion, 998% more. So again, the shiny rocks are just being stacked by the central bank in China. Can you imagine if the central bank in China, they're issuing 60 billion in new money just to bail out real estate? Imagine they allocated a little bit towards Bitcoin just to hedge their gold position. Wow. I would light the world on fire. Anywho, let's look at the ETF numbers. And again, thank you all for coming, everybody. Happy Friday. TGIF, as they say. Day 88, raw numbers. We're nearly at 90 days. Tomorrow will be day 89. Can't believe it's gone so fast. And we had a really good week. Monday, 86 million. Tuesday, 100 million. Wednesday, 303 million. Thursday, 257 million. And we had 2 positive days from Grayscale. 27 million and 4.6 million. Thank you, KT, as well, for coming. So, and all across the board, yesterday, all green. And the market makers at BlackRock, maybe I forced their hand yesterday. I said, there's no way they can do $1 billion of volume every day and not stack one Bitcoin. And here we are. They stacked yesterday. So BlackRock is back. I think they're stacking behind the scenes on the sly. Anyway, allegedly, theoretically, tinfoil hat well attached. Here you can see all the funds are up. Nothing like the crazy times we had before, but also great to see Grayscale being positive. Total money flow, we had the 4th biggest day of money flow since March 11th, 2024, 257.3 million. Day before, 303 million. That is a lot. It is going to be, the last 2 weeks, again, probably going to be 1.5 billion. Grayscale had their 3rd best day ever since this all began on January 11th. And most importantly, 3,944 Bitcoin were pulled from the system. All right. 9 times the daily Bitcoin issuance were pulled from the system. And remember, the miners are out. Let's go pull up this miner chart one more time. This shows you how much the miners have left in the kitty. Very little Bitcoin, all-time record low. Everybody, this goes back to 2014. And they don't have much left, which means when people, if this buying accelerates, and these 9 ETFs are sucking out 9 times the daily issuance, yesterday was 10 times, where is it going to come from? Weekends and the long-term holders, perhaps. We'll see. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Hope you hit the like. I'll be back in a couple of hours. I have to do a key crypto update that you're all asking for. Okay, so be a Sol update in a couple of hours. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat. Thank you all the beautiful people out there. And I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.